some general tips and tricks that I've learned. This is stuff that I wish I would have known. This is not a session, it's a normal PDF. I can manipulate it as I want to. One thing that I found with these little markup toolbars, it's actually hard to move them. Say I wanted to move it, I can't actually move it without dragging it. It's just tedious. You could hit Control C, Control V, and then you're stuck again. You can't move it. So there's actually a couple little tricks. If you hit Alt, hold Alt while you're dragging something, it will pretty much always move it. And most things, you don't really need it. You can just click and drag, but there are certain things. I think the Cloud Plus might be one of them. There's different markup tools that using this Alt for move is very helpful. Similarly, if you wanted to, instead of doing Control C, Control V, and then moving it with the Alt click, you could also hit Control click and it copies it and moves it over. This is something that I have found very helpful, especially with our markups. I want to make a comment here. I want to make a comment here. This one's a 3. I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with this. But yeah, just another little trick that I learned that I found helpful. Another thing you can do, if you right click, there's a lot of features, and I showed you before where you can make a curve with a line. I can turn this into a curve, convert to arc. There's that, but you can also right click and you can add another leader. I found this to be very helpful with a lot of comments. You don't clutter up your drawings too much, and they're all dynamic. I move this and they all move with it. Really helpful, I think. I end up using that a decent amount. And to delete it, you just right click and go delete leader. You got to be in the right spot to do that. Speaking of which, there's another thing in here called auto size text box. And for anyone who's been using Acrobat forever, this is such a game changer. So, I have this text box. It's too big. If I hit auto size text box, or you can see Alt Z, this is the shortcut here, it will automatically make it smaller. Now, I don't use this as much as I used to, and I'll show you why. But if you do need a text box that's too big, you can hit Alt Z or right click auto size text box, and it will just make it the right size. So that is very, very handy. And even better than that is if you go into the preferences bar under tools, there is a auto size text box right when you make it. So I'll show you what happens when you don't have it on. If I use 5 and you can kind of see it's too long, so I have to hit Alt Z to make it smaller. But if I set that as it was before, and I'd recommend everyone do this, now when I hit that same exact command, I hit in the random letters, now it automatically does it. The only time you're really going to need to auto size it is if maybe you have a long comment, something like this down here, and I'm copying it over, and I just want to say test. And actually, that one even made it longer. I'm not sure exactly when you'd use it, but there are times when you need to use Alt Z or the auto size text box. Yeah, really, really cool feature. Okay, here's another one that I really like. All right, say I'm working on a ramp here, and this is something that I like to do. I'm often looking at Google Street View and like comparing. So this is 2 tricks I'm going to show you in one. But the first thing is that you can actually save stuff off screen. I can copy this and I can actually keep this over here, and it's actually living in the document. Can't do this in Acrobat. Where might you use this? Say why don't I just turn off all these documents, got all completely turn off all my documents, and say I want to do a separate markup over here. So I want to do a custom markup in here. There's something wrong with this one. I could come in here and I could start marking up this one. If you wanted to, just theoretically. But if you were, or maybe there's a ramp that we're missing and I want to put it on this page. Normally you run out of space on your page. There's not enough space, but this becomes very helpful. You can copy this in here. Now, when someone opens this up in Acrobat, it doesn't always come in exactly right. I just make sure who's ever looking at, if you're doing this kind of markup, make sure whoever looking at this document is also using Bluebeam. One other thing I wanted to show you, go to Street View, say this is the corner I'm working on. I keep referring back to this. I really like that you can copy it in, and keep a picture of it so you always remember what it looks like. But you can actually also, and I think you might go do this in Acrobat, so you can right click on this, edit action, add a hyperlink, and then now, I forget about whatever I'm working on, but I go back one day, oh, what does that look like again? Click on the link, and I can do a quick look in at that drawing a little bit more functionality that I find helpful. But I think the real power is like being able to save off screen, so I'm not having to shove it in somewhere on this sheet. And then it's clearly not drafting. It's clearly something that is for the designer. So this is also another game changer, I would say, is this idea that you can open up a document sort of like you do in MicroStation with multiple views. And you can't do this in Acrobat. You can actually hit this split vertical. This is also available under the view bar, I believe. Split vertical or split horizontal. And I end up doing this often, that I just do the Control-2 quite often. And basically what it does is it just creates, it's the exact same document. So, it's not, if I'm drawing in something here, it's going to show up right here as well. But where I find this helpful is I'm looking at this ramp here, zoomed in. I can't really see the notes. What is note 9 again? If I go over here, I can actually make a little note bar, for myself. Okay, remove. It just kind of allows you more flexibility to move and see everything the way you might want to. And then another example when I might use this, what is that detail on sheet 2B show me again? Let me zoom there. Okay, this is what that shows. Instead of having to like open up, copy the document and open up again or whatever, I can just look at a lot of stuff. I can just look at stuff, together. Super cool thing. And I think this is the last thing I'm going to show you here. This one is, I think it's pretty powerful when you're doing reviews for plan sets. You can, this is probably not the perfect way to show you this, but you can see I have two markups here. Actually, I haven't shown you this. You can drag these apart and have two different little Bluebeam windows, different drawings open at the same time. I can right click, I can reattach them. But yeah, you can actually do that when you have the split views open as well. But if you go under here to document and go to synchronize document and synchronize page. If you're doing a review set and you want to follow along with the comments or get something back from Redlines, it's a really good way to follow along. So if I do synchronize page, if I zoom in right here, I want to see if this is done. It will follow along. I can see, okay, that's finished. That's double label. What else is I need to look at? This thing, did that get done? Okay, that's done. I think that can be really helpful. I don't use it that much, but there's times where I find it to be super helpful. And actually, I'll open up the other drawing here. This is the one that I know Jason and my documents are the exact same length. I'm going to do this one, which is synchronize document, and it's going to actually stay on the same page. And this actually needs to go over here. It's going to stay on the same page, not just the same part of the page. So if I'm on page 12 here, I go over to the next page just to flip the same page. And I go to Jason's comments and I open up his comments. Say I'm basically just zooming around. Okay, is this one done? Is that one done? Is that one done? I mean, it's pretty cool if you're doing back checks. Highly recommend those couple tools.